Welcome to another edition of On the Set with Sawicki. I'm Mark Sawicki, and today's guest is Ben Moss with Compass Realty. Thank you for coming and joining us today.
Good to be with you, Mark. Yeah, thank you.
Ben, so why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your background and what you do?
I'll try to keep it really quick here, Mark. So I've been in the real estate business for 20 years, primarily residential, but I started off in commercial. And I'm the East Coast director for Compass, which is a nationwide organization now. We've got, I think, 400 offices around the country. It's a technology firm, which is a real estate brokerage. So it's a really cool platform, and it's grown exponentially as a result of that.
So, what you're saying online, I use my mobile phone for everything. Is Compass like Zillow?
So Zillow has some algorithms, and I guess some people would call that a technology company too. That platform is changing right now as we speak because their pay-to-play model is changing. So Compass is a brokerage first and foremost, but we have hundreds of engineers, people from Google, from Apple, from Microsoft, from some of the top tech companies in the world that are building out a whole suite of technology platform. And so people like me, anybody who's affiliated at Compass, it gets to benefit from that. So it really is a technology real estate brokerage hybrid, if you want to look at it from that perspective.
My Zestimate says my condo's $435. Should I sell it?
That's a fluid market. A lot more buyers for that, so you probably sell it much faster.
Perfect. That was just more of just a joke. But so you and I have worked together with clients in the past. So why don't you tell us who your ideal client is?
Well, so I've kind of got two prongs, right? So one is sports and entertainment, and within that world, lots of things that I'm doing, from education, team education, to writing a book right now, a lot of different things there. And then the other side is, I'm probably working with, let's say, a dozen New York clients that have all come to South Florida over the last year and are still coming. I mean, I'm taking clients out this weekend, and we're not even looking at houses yet. We're just touring neighborhoods, just getting them to understand, the landscape of South Beach versus Coconut Grove versus Pinecrest and some of these areas in Miami. So, for me, I'm a relationship guy. So I take anything, and I have a team. So we handle rentals, purchases, sales. For me, it's not about the transaction. It's about the relationship. And so if somebody that I know and that wants to do business with me wants to sell a $400,000 house or rent a $2,300 a month rental, I may not be doing everything step by step. I may involve a team member, but there's an accountability, and that's with me. Because that client, I've got two ball players, two NFL players who are first-round picks, and they're renting a place together here. It would be silly of me not to help them on a rental, because eventually these guys may buy something, they may not. But if I'm going to help them with a rental, I want them to get the best rental they can. I want them to be happy. I want them to be satisfied. My business is all referral-driven. So from that perspective, but those are kind of the two main channels for me.
So are you an Apple or an Android person?
What's funny is I'm more of an Apple person, but I still use a desktop. So I don't use a Mac for my work. I like Excel, and I know you can use it all now, so I should probably do the full integration. I have Apple TV, but in some ways it's funny, I'm not really a technology guy because I don't watch TV at home, and I have a Savant system, and it's great when I use it, but it's, probably shouldn't even have it because I use it like once a month. I'm more of a music guy.
So what type of music?
If you ask my wife, she'll probably be brutally honest, and because she's always listening to my music, I would say probably like 80% bluegrass. And then the rest is like a mix, reggae, rock, stuff like that. I
would have never known you're a bluegrass person. Yeah. And our audience would also never know that you drive a yellow Volkswagen convertible.
The yellow Volkswagen convertible, yeah. That may or may not be true, but
we'll never know, right? So when you deal with your clients, what is the most common question you get?
People always want to know about the market, and that's a very general term, right? The market is very different in downtown Fort Lauderdale than it is in Sunny Isles, than it is in Miami Beach. So that's one thing that we always have to kind of take out. And in a negotiation, what's interesting is the party that I'm negotiating with, on my side of the table, always wants to psych out the other side and always kind of starts telling stories about what the other side is thinking or doing or why. I'd say most often that's not true. And so a lot of it is just kind of working with them to stop telling these stories in their head, and let's just focus on the facts or the market, or look, the absorption rate is this unit's going to sell for this, these are the comps. Now you start getting into special properties and things like that, and it gets a little bit different. But for the average property out there, there are decent comps, and it's usually not worth telling a lot of stories around it.
So one of the questions that my clients always have is they come into my office for a divorce and they say, Zillow said my house is worth X. Why should a client use a licensed realtor versus using Zillow's estimate?
So I think Zillow and Realtor.com, these are good tools, and I use them also, by the way. I'm searching for vacation rentals in different markets, and I'm searching for investment properties and things like that, and I'm using some of these markets where Compass doesn't have the app. But I heard this through hearsay, so I don't know if it's fully true, but I think it is. The CEO of Zillow sold his home for 30% less than what the Zestimate said. So there's no way an algorithm can take into account, floor plan, is it functional, is it obsolete? In one part of Miami, in a gated community in particular, there's many different levels, and people don't like that today, but when in the 80s, when these properties were built, that's the way they were built. So you can't take that into account. You can't take into account finishes and condition. You can't take into account the nuances. Across the street may be a completely different neighborhood, or it may not be. So, and I don't know all the algorithms that they use, but quite often I say, it could be 25, 30% in either direction from this estimate.
So Ben, your business has helped my clients find rental homes, permanent homes, vacation homes, and even different parts of the state of Florida. Tell us more about where Ben Moss Compass Realty has spread its footprint.
Well, so Compass now, when I joined, there were 30 offices around the country. Now there's almost 400, and I think international expansion happening this year into next year. So the platform is broad, and it helps people like me, because as I mentioned, I'm doing 50% of my business outside of South Florida altogether. And so, my focus primarily where I'm transacting is South Florida. So let's say, Boca down to, and I have a couple listings in the Keys also, but predominantly Broward and Dade counties. These are the two areas that I spend most of my time. I'll be in Tampa on Monday. I travel to different industry events like associated with sports primarily, but I like to think that I'm an advisor nationwide, because I have clients. Most of my clients have multiple properties, and so if I can be involved in that, especially on the financial part of the athlete side, is helping them make the right decisions. Athletes are renting here, they're getting cut there, they're getting traded, they're getting drafted, family obligations. There's a lot of things that are happening, and I don't know that there's anybody out there who's really focusing on their holistic well-being when it comes to real estate and educating them. Most of these guys don't even know what a mortgage is. They don't know how it amortizes. They don't understand why they should pay principal in the beginning, in the early years, versus maybe don't have to do that in the ending years. They just don't understand a lot of these concepts. And so there's a lot that's just kind of like going right under the rug with them.
So Ben, before you mentioned about that you're writing a book, tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so Mark, what it is really, I've been doing education for different teams for a while, and there's guys in the back that are kind of cracking jokes, not paying attention. There's guys in the front that are studiously taking notes, but even with the guys who are studiously taking notes, there's a limit as to how much they can really take in and absorb when it comes to all the things that I want to go over, and I've got 45 minutes to an hour to do it, right? So really the genesis of the book was, it's basically a playbook for athletes to educate them about anything to do with real estate. And one of my big things here is to educate them about, don't just go buy the big house because you can buy the big house. Take that active income, convert it to passive income, start creating income stream for yourself by maybe, it could be many different ways, right? But one of them is passive income producing real estate, multifamily, self-storage, stuff that is easier to understand. And when they stop playing, they could have $50, $100, $200, $500,000 a year coming in from their investments in income producing real estate. And now, once you have that, you go buy whatever house you want based on your income, because that's coming in for life, basically, as long as you manage these properties.
So why don't you tell us about your golf handicap?
Yeah, I think I don't play golf. If it's disc golf, then yeah.
So, Ben, you talked to us about how you talk to pro athletes, you've talked to it for the Dolphins, for other teams about real estate education. If you had to break it down to a really simple point, what would be the message you tell our audience, anyone who's listening?
About real estate?
About real estate investing.
About real estate investing is start. Just start doing it, start educating. There's a great book that I read in college, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, there's a lot of resources out there. This is not rocket science. It's been done many times, and anybody can do it. So start saving. Once you start saving, then you have the opportunity to start investing, unless you start trying to flip. And that's a very active strategy. Not everybody can go out and flip, and a lot of times they're not successful at doing it. So I think just start doing it, start saving your money, and start looking at, I think multifamily is a great place to start. Class B multifamily, they can't build it anymore because they're all building Class A. If you're in a Class A building and the economy tanks, you can go to Class B, that's okay. If you're in a Class B building, you are not wanting to go to a Class C building. Your family may not be safe. So Class B is not sexy, but it can't be built right now based on land values, and there's a need. So if you go in with a strategy and you say, okay, I'm going to buy this building, has good rental stream, or I'm going to go in and I'm going to renovate and bump from here to here, that's a pretty good strategy.
That's great. So in our world, social media could be a tool that could be used against our clients. People, when they go through divorce, will post pictures or messages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, sometimes about the other spouse, children, or judges. It's very frowned upon in our world. In your world, it's a whole different ballgame. Can you tell us how you use social media to help?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much social media from a real estate marketing perspective on listings has completely eradicated, for the most part. I don't spend money on print advertising. So for me, it's you know, I get no return, first of all. I can't see how many people saw it when I'm talking about print. Social media, I can run a campaign, I get insights, I get data, I can share that with clients, and I get you know, information coming back from the other side, from the people I'm trying to reach. So for any listing that I have, I'm running 2 or 3 social media campaigns around that. I say, okay, I think the buyer here could be coming for this property, could be coming from New York, and could be coming from the east side of town, and so I'll run campaigns in these areas. And so, for instance, those are 2 examples of how it's very strong for us.
Perfect. And I'm Mark Sawicki. This is On the Set with Mark Sawicki, and Ben Moss here to help, and we're here to protect your peace.
Thanks, Mark.
No problem.